Chin.
Yo, what is happening? What's happening? What's happening? Yo, welcome to the Reimagining Worship podcast. I am your host, Trevor Chin, and it is a privilege once again for me to be able to be here to record this stuff. Listen, thank you for checking out Reimagining Worship. Reimagining Worship, the mission of Reimagining Worship is to foster an environment that inspires and empowers creatives within the church, celebrating their unique gifts and harnessing their talents to enhance worship experiences. We are committed to nurturing a community that values creativity as an expression of faith, fostering connection, and promoting a deeper relationship with Jesus. In short, we are invested in the leadership, growth, development, and care of worship and creative arts teams within the local church. So listen, it is once again, like I said, it's a privilege for me to be able to be here with you. And it's an honor that you would choose this podcast to listen to. I don't want to waste any more time. I really want to just jump right in. We have been going through this series, this course, if you will, of developing your next worship leader. And the reason why I decided to go this direction is because time and time again, I've been getting phone calls and emails and requests like, yo, do you have anybody that can, that can lead worship? Yo, do you have anyone that can do this? Yo, I need an MD. Yo, I need a creative director, all of these different things. And my argument is, we have not because we developed not. We have not spent the time over the years to develop this creative team, these creative leaders, worship pastors over the years. And there's a lot of things that I think we lean into the contractor culture way too heavy. We leaned into hiring people and becoming a means to an end way too much. There has been so many things I think that the church has done, and I ain't bashing, but like we have not created a cultivating space of development and care for folks to be able to step into these spaces. And now my generation of folk is looking around, like for those who are still in it, for those who are still here, we're like, it's not a lot of us out here. So neither here nor there, and it's for a lot of reasons. I think it's burnout. I have a podcast that talks about that. I think it is because of lack of care. I think it's because of that. I think it's unrealistic expectations. Like there's a myriad of things that I believe that we have done or contributed or didn't contribute to put us in the position that we are now. So the best way to do it, instead of complaining about it, is to develop a way to be able to provide for the future of the church. Maybe there's younger people in your church that are looking to grow in this space. Maybe it's you that's looking to grow in this space, that you have a deep desire, you see the need, but you do not know where to start. That's what this podcast is for. That's what this page is for. So I want to encourage you, check out my website. You can go to trevorchin.com or reimaginingworship.org. I'm still trying to work on the domain stuff with that, but both of those get you to the same place. Also, shameless plug, can't really see. There it goes. Made to Worship, Reimagining Worship. We got merch online now. It's been a long time coming. Super excited. Let me fix this mic. It's been super excited just about what's been happening. We've been able to do more and more. And then for a one-time $20 donation, you have access to all of our past trainings, our current trainings and our future trainings that are on video. We just finished one this past Saturday. I'm looking to upload that stuff this week by Friday. So you can go ahead and check all that stuff out. But listen, we are on chapter 4, section 4 of this section of developing your next worship leader, not hiring, but developing your next worship leader. And this one, we're talking about the pulse of leadership. The pulse of leadership, conducting with authority and humility. This is a unique space. This is a unique chapter because in this space, we are servant leaders. We are intentional about leading with servitude, with humility, with gentleness. But there's still a place of authority and leadership that we need to hold, that when we are making decisions or having requests, that there's a level of authority behind. It's not suggestion, just this authority. Like, I've decided that this is what we're going to do. This is the direction that we're going to go. Later on in other chapters, we're going to talk about how to develop a vision, how to develop a mission, how to develop all these kind of foundational things that you can begin to build from. Because a big part of this is I want creatives to have the systematic resources to be able to care for these teams. Not just the flow, not just community like this. We need all those things too. And I talk about all that stuff, but like a lot of this is around systems that we can develop, create frameworks or bumper guardrails or whatever language you want to use that we can use to develop systems, develop teams, to develop. And then it's everyone, even when you're bringing up other leaders, everyone is doing the same process. So it's just a bunch of processes, but a lot of this is around leadership and all that. But there is this dual nature of leadership. So chapter 4, we're talking about the pulse of leadership, conducting with authority and humility. Leadership within this context of worship requires a unique approach. There's a line between leadership and servanthood. We are the lead worshipers, but we're also the lead servants. Like we are ones that are intentional about being the first to sacrifice, but we're also ones that we're the first to show up. So it's really finding this healthy balance between the two to where you're viewed as both, where you're growing in both. You're growing in your leadership capabilities, in your communication, in your direction. When people view you, they're like, all right, cool. I'll figure out what I'm going to do based on this person. But then it's also, I really can roll with them because of their humility, because of their gentleness, because of there's an affinity towards your personality and the spirit of that. But there's also the space of there's the gentleness, but there's also the authority. So where and how does all of this fix? This is a bunch of ways that we can do that. Very practical. Y'all know how I roll. This is a very practical podcast. Let us dive in. The first section right here is building authority. The first big point around this topic is building authority. Authority is earned, not given. I can just be here for the rest of the day, but authority is earned and not given. We build authority through consistent actions, through the musical competency, through spiritual maturity. So building authority is something that is earned and viewed over time. 5 simple ways of application ways of how you can build authority. 1, consistent leadership style. Demonstrate a consistent leadership approach in both rehearsals and services. This consistency helps build trust and respect among team members. One thing, especially, and if you're in a church plant situation, or you're in a setup and tear down situation, or you're in a situation where on a weekly basis things are consistently turning over, you have to be able to develop some sort of foundational regularity. Every week we're going to be doing this. Like rehearsal times aren't changing. It shows instability. Like consistency is key when it comes to leadership, because you want to show groundedness, rootedness, sustainability, all of that, because you don't want your rehearsal times to be fluctuating. Then it's inconsistent. It comes for people that are very systematic. When's rehearsal this week? It's Wednesday or Thursday or Friday or Saturday. What time we showing up? Is call time changing week to week? No. So work on having consistent leadership approaches in rehearsals and services. Every Sunday, this is what we're going to do. Every rehearsal, this is what we're going to do. When we gather together, this is what we're going to do. You almost want to become, what's the word I'm looking for? When people see you, it want to be like, yo, all right, I already know what we're doing today. Like, I already know what's going on Sunday. I already know this is where they're going to be picking the songs from. This shows a level of stability and maturity that people are eager to follow and to roll with. And it's understandable because they can see both sides of the coin. Consistent leadership style. Secondly, decisive decision-making. Decisive decision-making. When faced with choices, whether it's about a song selection or handling team conflicts, make decisions confidently and fairly. This shows you can be trusted to lead effectively. Decisive decision-making is extremely important because you do not want to be teeter-tottering. Now, I'm not saying that you need to be guttural with everything. Like there are folks that are like gut folks. Yo, I believe my gut that this is what we should be doing. That's not even what I'm arguing. I'm saying that when something is brought to you or a question is brought to you, ponder, and we're going to talk about some of that stuff later, but ponder and prepare of what you're going to communicate, how you're going to communicate, and what the actual direction or answer is. Have accountability, have mentors, have people that you bounce ideas off of. I would suggest even having small groups of people, even within your team, that already trust your leadership. This is huge. That already trust your leadership, but are willing to collaborate with you to give their 2 cents, but would also say, hey, listen, at the end of the day, whatever you decide, we're rolling with that. If you want to take my idea, cool. But if not, cool. I'll follow you till the wheels fall off type thing. So you want to be intentional that the people that you have for that have a level of trust and respect for you, and that's for every category. Even as you develop team camaraderie or collaboration, just make sure that these decisions that you're making they're clear and they're decisive. They're intentional, and you like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do this and this. And then have somewhat of a reason or clarity around why you're doing this and this. So, why are we doing 3 songs instead of 4? What we're doing, and I said so, is not a good answer. I don't care how many times your mama said it. But we're doing 3 instead of 4 because the third song is 8 minutes long. We're doing this song it's going to be more of a medley. Okay, cool. That makes sense. Be intentional with your decision making. Have some collaboration around that with trusted people. Have a mentor that you can bounce ideas off of on a regular basis. So your decision making and communication style can be very decisive. Educate and empower. This is the third idea. Share your knowledge and skills with the team. Encourage their development by providing leadership opportunities and constructive feedback. This not only builds your authority as a knowledgeable leader, but it also shows your commitment to the team's growth. At the end of the day, and we've talked about this before, but at the end of the day, you want to see your team grow and develop into whatever God has them for them, whether that be music, whether that be creative online or production or whatever it is, singing, vocal ability. Provide your feedback. And if you don't have the ability to be able to communicate this stuff, outsource it and resource it, pay for it. So, they want to learn how to play guitar, but you don't know how to play guitar, and it'll be effective for the ministry and be effective for them, then hire someone to teach them how to play guitar. Whatever the case may be, but find, educate, and empower your team so they can not only flourish within the church, but in their homes and in the communities that they serve individually, their jobs, whatever. Lead by example. Lead by example. Uphold high standards, the fourth idea. Uphold high standards in both personal practice and public performance. By demonstrating commitment and excellence in your own role, you set benchmarks for the team, establishing your authority through personal example. You do not want to be, it is what it is. Do not be Mr. or Mrs. It is what it is. Keep your standards high. Keep standards high for yourself. Keep timelines high for yourself. Lead by example. Show them what you want to see, even in any level of leadership. Lead by example. The fifth one is structured feedback and review. Regularly review the team's performance and provide structured, objective feedback. This not only helps in refining the team's skill, but also establishes your role as a leader who is invested in continuous improvements and excellence. Show them where they need to grow, encourage them where they need to grow, resource where they need to grow, and then consistently and regularly review where you are. All those are under building authority. You want a consistent leadership style, decisive decision-making, educate and empower, lead by example, and structured feedback and review. Another idea around how to gain this trust and respect through humility and through leadership is through embracing humility. A lot of the first one was around like how to show the leadership ability. This one is how to show that humility, how to express and be in that spiritually humble place. Acknowledging and learning from mistakes is the first idea. When things don't go as planned, openly acknowledge the mistake, learn from it, and move forward. This shows humility and resilience. This is big. When you're wrong, admit you're wrong. When you wrong somebody, apologize and repent. When you've been inconsiderate, when you've been incorrect, when a ball is dropped, take responsibility. Had a mentor that once told me, he said, leaders take responsibility and give away the praise. They give away credit and assume responsibility. That is a way that you can acknowledge and learn from mistakes, but also visually display that you are caring, growing, and like I said, even earlier, holding your own high standards and communicating where you got these things wrong. All this reinforces the benchmark. All this reinforces the excellence that you want to see for yourself and for your team. So acknowledge and learn from the mistakes. Seeking input from team members. Regularly ask for, genuinely consider input from team members regarding song choices, arrangements, and other aspects of worship planning. This is huge and I just said this at the conference the other day, but allowing people on your team to have input as it pertains to song selection or direction or whatever the case may be, it emphasizes and it's a recognition that the Lord is working with them too, that the gift did not stop with you. For leaders, this is, especially in the worship space, when the Lord gifted you with certain leadership capabilities, he didn't stop. You know what I mean? There wasn't a one size fits all. No, it was unique for you, but there are other giftings that other people on your team have. And to be able to express that in a space of asking for input and all that kind of good stuff, it does a lot. And we talked about this in our last episode in terms of collaborative or shared vision, how to provide a shared vision within your team. This is one of the ways they do that. They have input in terms of what they want to give. Number 3, sharing leadership opportunities. Step back occasionally, monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly. Step back a little bit just to allow other people to grow and develop in that space. Sharing these leadership opportunities will help other people grow. It would encourage them in their own leadership, and you'll see who is ready for another step of development when you step out and you see who rises to the top. So sharing leadership opportunities. Number 4, recognizing and celebrating others' contributions. And we talked about that, but make it a habit to publicly acknowledge and celebrate the team's achievements and contributions to your team members. I just said that you give away credit and assume responsibility. A way to embrace humility is to assume responsibility and to give away credit. It goes such a long way. And the 5th idea is engaging in continuous learning. Continuously seek personal improvement through workshops, mentorship, learning from others, showing that you don't believe that you have all the answers. I've said this I just said it actually. Verbally communicate that you've gotten directional help, coaching, development, mentorship, whatever. Communicate that regularly to your team so they know that you're not picking this from the air, but you've sought help of growth and learning. And I got this from a conference, or I got this from this book, or resource yourself. I have a library full of worship, like books around worship. Get resources for yourself. Give resources to your team. Continuous learning. And even in this same one is, my pastor used to always say, hey, when you communicate, always put the Bible between you and those who you lead, because it shows and it communicates that this is the follow me as I follow Christ idea. Like, I have directions, I have an idea, I have vision, we have a direction that we're headed, but also I'm following Jesus in this. I've been in prayer about this, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But embracing humility, acknowledging learning from mistakes, seeking improvement from team members, sharing leadership opportunities, recognizing and celebrating others' contributions, and engaging in continuous learning. Another big one, the 3rd big topic, is effective rehearsal techniques. A worship leader authority is most visible during rehearsal. This part of the chapter oftentimes refers to like efficient communication, efficient rehearsal running, spiritually focused rehearsals, spiritual groundedness, spiritual foundation, spiritual practices, all of that kind of good stuff. A way to communicate your clear leadership on a regular basis is the effective way how you run your rehearsal. People will be, especially if you're during the week. Hear me and hear me. When you are leading a rehearsal during the week, especially for family members, for moms and dads, or for people that work crazy jobs, or for people that have a job in general, be effective with your rehearsal. Be intentional, be prepared, be open, be realistic with the time, be realistic with the rehearsal. Make sure your team is like, there's so many things around these effective rehearsal techniques to honor people's time, to honor their gift, to honor your time and your space. Be prepared. So the first idea is structured rehearsal plan. Begin with a clear, structured plan for each rehearsal. And then, like I said, for the first idea, be consistent with that. This should include what songs will be practiced, the focus of each piece, and any specific areas to address. I would even encourage you to get a timer. If you're going to give 20 minutes to this song, 30 minutes for this song because it's a little more difficult, and 45 minutes for this song because it's a little more difficult. This amount of time of prayer, this amount of time in practicing through spontaneous worship, whatever. But get some timers so you can honor this time and you can show that you are prepared. There is nothing worse than going to a rehearsal and the person leading has to be consistently going back to listen to songs or not knowing what's next, not knowing how to lead, not being prepared. Like all that shows, and it's going to grow resentment on your team. It's going to grow frustration on your team. It's going to grow lack of interest on your team. And then when it comes time for rehearsal, I don't know, man, they said rehearsal was going to be from 7 to 9. We was there until 11 o'clock at night. Honor their time. People are serious I'm serious about my time. If you tell me we're going to be there for 7 to 9, I'm making a plan for 9:15 because I'm going to be out by 9 o'clock. So like you have people that have busy schedules. You want to honor those times. Anyways, structure rehearsal plan is the first one. Number 2, warm-up exercises. Start rehearsals with vocal instrumental warm-ups. This is an opportunity just to show the leadership care for their voices, for their technique, for their growth, all that kind of stuff. This can improve performance and reduce the risk of strain. Melissa does this every single rehearsal. She does this every morning. There's different vocal techniques. One of the episodes I'm going to ask if she can show some of those vocal techniques just so it could be another resource for you. But number 3, sectional rehearsals. Break down the rehearsal to focus on certain parts, whether it be we're going to focus more on this chorus. I know the verses, or one person is singing the verses, whatever. Or breaking down the band from the vocalist. Make sure the band has their own structured, intentional sectional rehearsal opportunity. Whatever that looks like in your context and the space that you have, or if you have rehearsal and band and singers have 2 different days, however that works for you, just have intentional sectional times where you can rehearse different pieces. Maybe the altos go somewhere just to get their part. All of these things are very helpful. Regular breaks. Incorporate some short breaks just to prevent fatigue. Again, this shows care for them. It gives opportunities to sit down for a second, get a drink of water, listen to how I'm about to do this right now. And you can still be effective and intentional with the time, as well as give regular breaks. And then feedback and review, in rehearsal with some feedback, honor, care. Hey, this person, you did a really good job. You knew your parts. You came super prepared. Communicate what you want to see continued. Celebrate what you want to see continued. Honor what you want to see continued. Verbally, publicly, let people know where they have stepped up the bar higher. And then encourage those who are struggling. Hey, listen, y'all, I really want to encourage y'all. Please, we got to honor each other's time. Please be prepared before you come to rehearsal, because the more that we're trying to learn the song at rehearsal, the less time we have to be able to get on the same page. Rehearsal isn't the time to learn the music. Rehearsal is a time to learn to sing and play together. So, effective rehearsal techniques, structured rehearsal plan, warm-up exercises, sectional rehearsals, regular breaks, maintain feedback and review. We have 3 more big sections. The first one, and I'm going to burn through these pretty quickly. I've been trying to keep these podcasts short, but it's getting technical, so it's been a little bit longer. So thanks. If you're still here, thanks for rolling. Managing personalities. We talked a little bit about this last session in terms of conflict, but these are 5 big things around managing personalities. Recognize individual differences. This is a big thing, but this is a good thing because differences brings diversity, and diversity brings collaboration, and collaboration brings unity and uniformity. Understand that each team member has a unique personality and approach to communication in their work. So tailor your interactions to suit the individual differences. If you have people that need direct communication, communicate with them differently than you communicate with the people that like more vague rock throws. Foster open communication. And if you want more of this, you can listen to the last episode. I have a large section that I talked a lot about this, but I want to get through this pretty quickly. Foster open communication. Have spaces even Matthew 18, have spaces where y'all can communicate to one another. Conflict resolution skills. Develop and implement effective conflict resolution strategies to handle disagreements or personality clashes. Personalities will clash. The larger your team grows, the more people that you incorporate onto your team. People have bad days. People have bad weeks. People have bad months. People have bad seasons. Things can be said. Things can be rubbed the wrong way. Folk got issues from the past, and there's so many things. Develop some conflict resolution skills. And if you are not skilled in this, have someone that is strategic, that's either around you or on your team, that can help you with that. Set clear expectations. Clearly communicate what the expectation is. This is across the board. And the 5th one is provide support and encouragement. So managing personalities is difficult, but there's a lot of conflict resolution stuff that can happen there. Be intentional with your conflict resolution. Be intentional with your communication skills, your expectations. A lot of times, and this happens in any kind of relationship, conflict happens because expectations are not clear. Frustration happens because expectations are not clear. I harp on this because we can have unrealistic expectations for people, and when they don't rise to that occasion, as we uncommunicated expectations also. When they don't rise to that occasion, then it's conflict. It does need to be conflict there. Like, just be intentional with the communication. And then support and encouragement. Here is another big one in terms of leadership and humility and all that kind of good stuff. Authority and humility. Decision making with discernment. And I want to spend a little bit of time on this one. I'm gonna burn through the last one, but decision making with discernment is super important because this is a spiritual development piece. This is a spiritual growth piece, spiritual maturity piece that is essential to be able to even accomplish this well. First idea. Now, mind you, I think this is the most challenging aspect of leadership, but it's the most important aspect of leadership. The first big one is prayer and reflection. You cannot spiritually lead people if you are not spiritually rooted yourself. If you're not spiritually grounded yourself, if you haven't taken time in devotion, you cannot lead people in the ways of God if you don't have a relationship or communication with God. Intimacy, all this matters here. Before making important decisions, take time to pray and reflect. Seek guidance and wisdom from God. I can tell you the millions of times through the scriptures where prayer is seen as such an essential thing, from a direction, from leadership, from vision, from where to go next, for what's next, for how to navigate through this next seat. There's so many instances. Same thing happens now. Listen, spend time in prayer and reflection before making important decisions. Seek counsel, seek clarity, seek coaching, seek external help to help you navigate through a lot of this stuff. So the first big one is prayer and reflection. I can't dig that home more enough. Pray publicly is another big one. Like, publicly ask for direction from God in prayer, in rehearsal, in meeting groups. Ask for that help, because we are not rolling on our own strength and developing and rocking on our own strength. Jesus says, for those who are weary and burdened and tired, like the ones who are willing to show the humility and admit that I am here for you and I want to provide something for you, is called rest. And it's not rest because it's a lack of work, but it's rest because it's at my pace. It's rest because it's reliance is not on what you can accomplish. It's rest based on what I can accomplish, or he can accomplish. You know what I mean? But the second thing, so the first one is prayer and reflection. Second thing is consult diverse perspectives. Seek input from various team members, even outside of your team, to gain different viewpoints and insights, ensuring a well-rounded decision-making process. This is big because I think that if you want to display clear leadership, you want to be able to have a diversity because you naturally think one way. Now, you can have diversity of thought of if we did this or we did this, but your gut usually has like especially when you get a little older, a little more seasoned in life, you can get a little bit more stubborn. Like, that's where all the my way or the highway stuff is come from. Consult diverse perspective, see how other people can view it, how they think through it, how they process it. And I would ask even questions like, when I said X, Y, Z, how did that make you feel? Or what did you think of when I said this? Because we can oftentimes think that we're extremely clear. And then when we ask for feedback, it's, happens with my kids all the time. Clean up them socks and then clean up the room and then put the pillows back on the bed. Okay, cool. And he'll sit down. Like, my son will sit down. Happened last night. Do you hear what I asked you to do? Yeah, you said do this and this. Now, I meant to do it. Oh, I didn't know you meant now. You just said you want to see that done. Just clear communication. But oftentimes we have a way that we think that we're communicating clearly, or think that we're communicating well, or a vision that is super clear, and it's not. So ask questions, consult diverse perspectives, see how this is happening. Third idea, consider long-term impact. Evaluate the potential long-term effects of your decisions on both the team and the broader church community. In other words, and I talk about this all the time, don't start something you can't sustain. Don't start something that you cannot sustain. If it can't be sustained, it's not worth starting because it doesn't have the legs to be able to be replicated, duplicated, and new process developed around it. Do not start it. If you cannot sustain it, consider the long-term impact. If it is a busy season, consider what 3 rehearsals a week does not only to you, but to your team and to the church as a whole, to the staff at the church, whatever the implications of some of this stuff is. And all this, like I said, that's why prayer was the first one. Consider that part, but consider the long-term impact of all of your decisions. If I fire this person or if I cut this person, how is that going to affect the team? How's that going to affect the church? How is that going to affect the culture of worship across the board? Consider long-term impact. Next is balancing logic and intuition. Using a balance of logical analysis and intuitive understanding to make decisions that align with both practical needs and spiritual direction. There are things that you want to get accomplished. There are things that you want to do that may not be logical. And it might be the Lord saying, I want this to happen, but not now. Everything or every vision or every idea that God gives you is not for you to execute immediately. It might be for you to pray more on, to develop more on, to ask more questions more on. Balance some of that. Like, all right, man, Lord gave me a vision of, like mass choir and full orchestra. That does not mean tomorrow you need to call the local orchestra to see if they can come in from time to time and lead worship with you. That's not the case. Pardon me. Use logical analysis based on some of these dreams or visions that you feel like the Lord is giving you. And then the other thing, evaluate against core values. Align your decision with core values and your mission of your worship team and church to ensure consistency and integrity within your leadership. Nothing confuses me more. Let me say this. Nothing confuses me more than when a worship team has a mission, vision, or values that are different from a different team at the church, which are different from the church as a whole. Align your values along with the values of the church. We do not need to be understanding and learning 4 different sets of vision or values or core beliefs or whatever the case would be in one organization. Evaluate against core values, but either way, take those values and the direction that you want to go, the decisions that you want to go, see how they align with those values. If excellence is one of your values, singing a song that does not sound good will not go with that value. So, we're just going to do it anyways, even if it flops. That contradicts the value. If one of your values is simplicity, if you do a orchestra, that contradicts one of your values. See what your values are. See your decision making around that to see how they can align, because you don't want to make decisions. This will communicate poor leadership and poor thought. But you don't want to do leadership decisions that contradict the values of your worship team or of your church. So, decision making with discernment, use prayer and reflection. Consult diverse perspectives, consider long-term impact, balance logic and intuition, and evaluate against core values. The last one is the area of gentle correction. And this will be quick because we talked about this a little bit already, but when things happen, when conflict happen, when things happen that you need to address, or conflict happens you need to address, or it's time for you to correct or challenge, or we say jam somebody up. There is ways to be able to do that in a healthy, robust, intentional, and direct leadership style. Gentle correction is super important because you want to make sure that you are not jamming them up unnecessarily. You want them to hear. You don't want to be heard. You want them to understand, not be heard, or not you be heard. So it's not just about how you what you communicate. It's about how you communicate it. The purpose of correction is for growth, development, for repentance, whatever the case may be. So, gentle correction, these 5 quick things, and then we're going to land this plane right here. Private feedback. If your brother offends you, go to them. Address issues or mistakes in private to avoid public embarrassment, especially if they're not big things. Now, if they then need to come back to apologize or repent or whatever for a group or to another person, then that happens at another step. But the initial interaction, communicate with them privately or with one other person. Use constructive language. Focus on constructive language that highlights areas for improvement while acknowledging the strengths. When I did social work, this is called using strength-based language. Instead of saying a kid talks too much in class, that has a negative connotation. Strength-based language is they do well to communicate with others. Their communication ability with others is very strong. But I need you to limit that communication during times of study or quiet times, whatever the case may be. So you highlight their strengths, use strength-based language, because once again, like I said, you want to be understood. You want them to receive the information, not just for them to hear the information. Encourage self-assessment. How do you think you did on Sunday? How do you think that this impacted somebody else? Give me your assessment of when you said this to the team, how do you think that they made them feel? All of these things helps to uncover the root issues, because here's where the big thing happens. Under some of these things, you dig a little bit deeper. There's usually like an issue that can be pastored, or an issue that needs to be pastored or cared for or shepherded, that through frustration or through an old church hurt or through home issue, or you're right, my kids were just wilding this morning and it really just put me in a crazy place. It's fine. You good. But this is where that care piece comes in a point. Offer support and resources. When correcting, also provide resources or suggestions to help improve, showing your commitment to their development. You want to be careful that when you're correcting, that when you're challenging, that you help offer a solution in a way to be corrected. If it's anger management, like, these are some resources. If it's spiritual care, these are some resources. If it's musical or like technical, like here are some ways that you can help develop and grow in these spaces. But be the one to not only offer critique, but offer support. And then lastly is follow up and encouragement. After you provide with feedback, or you challenge, or you correct, or you whatever, whether it be conflict or whatever, make sure you give time for them to be able to do it, but set up a development plan or a next step process, or look, accountability space. In a month from now, we'll check back in, see how things are progressing, see where it's still difficult, whatever. But set up space to be able to follow up and encourage them throughout the way. Let them know that you're with them, that you're praying for them, that you're supporting them, because all of this goes along with. So give private feedback, use constructive language, encourage self-assessment, offer support and resources, and follow up and encouragement. So listen, these are the ways that you can continue to show your authority and leadership. You can continue to show your expertise. You can continue to show the space of leadership that you hold in, but it's also this place that you can continue to show your humility and your gentleness and your care. Because at the end of the day, y'all, we really care for these teams. We really care for these churches. We really care for the people that are on their teams and their families. And you want to be able to lead them in a healthy way, in an intentional care with intentional shepherding, for the betterment of themselves, for the betterment of their homes, and for the betterment of the team and the local church. So listen, once again, I appreciate y'all being here with us. Today was a little bit longer, once again, but I appreciate you. If you made it this far, that's a good look. I appreciate it. But thank you once again. Don't forget, you can go to trevorchin.com, reimaginingworship.org. Follow me on Instagram at TConducting, or Melissa. You can follow her at Melissa T Music. And don't forget, you can hop on and grab our brand new merch. This one just dropped on Saturday, so this is brand new. So thanks for listening. Until next time.
Teaching.